Om Brahmanandam Paramasugadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dandvatitam Gaganasadarsham Tattvamasyati Lakshyam Ekam Nityam Vimalam Achalam Sarvadi Sakshibhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarehitam Satgurum Tam Nama. So, back here, I see many familiar faces also. People we know each other for some time. So, if my voice is going down sometime, please let me know so that they can raise the volume. Am I okay? When I whisper? Okay. Now, today's morning session is a very general session. The subject that has been given to me is exploring consciousness, body, mind, and beyond. Right? Okay. This is the subject which has been given to me. So, well, I said okay, of course, when it was suggested. So, this is a general session. If you have any questions, because later on we may or may not get time for questions. But I'd like to start by saying that as the subject goes, it is body, mind, and consciousness. So, should we go in order or start from consciousness or grow from body and mind? No, it's interesting. What do you think is the best thing to do? Then I'll tell you what I think is the consciousness, which we don't know anything about. Huh? Body, mind, yeah, okay. Yeah, since we are exploring consciousness, that suggestion was not bad, it was a good idea. But, okay, let's start at some point. I'll bring all these three together, okay? So we can look at it. And if you have any doubts, we can discuss the matter. Now, consciousness. We all have heard this word, consciousness. When I say I am conscious, now when I say I am conscious, that involves both the body and the mind. Otherwise, I cannot be conscious. And why do I say body, not only the mind? Because the only idea or the only concept that we have about consciousness, which I do not totally agree with, is that the brain is the reason for consciousness. Normally, when you say I'm conscious, it needs the involvement of the brain, of course. There is no doubt about that. If my brain was shut off, I wouldn't know what consciousness is. I'm talking about normal consciousness. Let's go from there. Not the idea of abstract idea of consciousness. We get there, but I'm talking about normal, what we know normally. I'm conscious that you're sitting there. How am I conscious that you're sitting here? Because I see with my eyes, I see your image, I connect it with my memory, which of course is a product of the brain, and I say, oh, this is the person who I know. And the person has come back again, so I connect with you, right? So here, both the body and the mind is involved in this understanding of consciousness, in this, as we are discussing. But we are also going to ask the question, is there consciousness when both the mind and the body are not working or not involved? Not working, not involved. Is there consciousness which is not part of the brain? Now, when we say mind now, for the time being, we mean the brain. We know of no other mind. There might be, we can guess, but we know of no other mind. Which mind? When I say, look, first look at this. One cannot conceive of the mind at all if there is no thought. Why do I say I have a mind? I am conscious because there is thought. Without thought, can you think of mind without thoughts? I mean, without thought? Suppose I say, well, I am meditating now, I have no thought. Who is saying this? It's the mind. The mind is saying, I have no thought. So there is a thought, which is that I have no thought. It's simple. I mean, it's very simple. So, what we normally call thought, which begins, of course, with the first thought, which is I exist, then the world exists for me, is a product of the brain. All thought is the product of the brain. When the brain is shut, there is no thought. And the mind that we say, therefore, at the moment, we know only the brain mind. We don't know any other mind. I hope you get what I'm trying to say. Please interrupt if there is a problem. Please do. This session, morning session, let's clear the path and go forward. So at the moment, when we say consciousness, it is that I'm conscious of the world and I'm conscious of myself, my existence, through thought, which is a product of the brain, which consists of perception, memory, everything. This is what we call the mind. And if the brain has to exist, the body has to exist. Where is the brain without the body? There is a location, right? So, now don't get disheartened, so there is no other consciousness. So, we are trying to figure out, you and I, is there a possibility of consciousness outside the existence of the brain, which we don't seem to know, because we can only think of consciousness as the product of the brain. This is what the general scientist, the normal scientist says, the biologist, that thought, which means the mind, is consciousness and it is a product of the brain, normally. So we are examining, we are exploring, is that so? Or is there something else which is beyond the so-called thought process, normal thought process, which of course is of the brain? We are not saying that we should freeze the brain or forget the brain. No, in our day-to-day existence, also for knowledge and to learn things, we need the brain. No question about that. And therefore, if you need the brain, which means you also have to be intelligent. If we have to be intelligent, we need the brain working in proper condition also. And when the brain is working now here is where the body is connected to what we call the mind, here meaning the brain, in this instance, as we are discussing. So, unless and until, according to us, according to some people, unless and until the body is kept in good condition, in good health, and so on and so forth, and there are ways of doing that, the brain does not work to its full capacity, nor can it be sharp, intelligent, and on-pointed. This is where yoga comes into the picture, and diets, and food, and so on and so forth. Also, the basic of how to breathe. Many of us have forgotten to breathe. Well, in the country where I come from, in the capital, it's better not to breathe. Today, that is the situation. I stay for 2 days, I can't breathe. At least here we have some good air, fresh air. The sad thing is nobody seems to be doing anything about it, unfortunately. Anyway, so so what did I say?
Maybe you can remind us which
Yeah, so let's go back to where we started. So, so we are exploring if there is intelligence. Oh, okay. Now there is an ancient mantra which comes from the Rig Veda. In fact, it is the most important mantra in the Rig Veda. And the rishi who gave us the mantra, was Vishwamitra. Now this name is very interesting. Vishwa means the universe, and Mitra means friend of the universe. So therefore, what I'm trying to say, the teachings of the Vedas, the teachings of the Upanishads, the teachings of yoga, in ancient times were written in a particular language. That doesn't mean it's only for a geographical locality. It's universal. There is a statement from the Upanishad, Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Let the entire world be happy. Now, it cannot be that let India be happy or Switzerland be happy or London be happy. No. Universe. So the message is universal, but it happens to be written in an ancient language because it started there, the whole thought process. That's all. So, the Gayatri Mantra. So therefore it's important to note that the Rishi who gave us the Gayatri Mantra, his name itself was Vishwamitra, the friend of the universe. Now, many of you might know the Gayatri Mantra. You might even be chanting the Gayatri Mantra. But what I want to stress is the last sentence of the Gayatri Mantra. What does it say? Dhyo yona prachodayat, which means, may my intelligence be stimulated. So, we are not against the brain or the intelligence or the intellect or any of these things. But what one remembers, one needs to remember, that when the intelligence is truly stimulated, truly, when the intelligence has no distractions, when the intelligence is clear cut, when the intelligence is above prejudices, when the intelligence is sharp and subtle, only then the journey to exploring consciousness begins. And therefore, we're not saying put your brain in cold storage. No, sorry. Even the Gayatri doesn't want that. But the Gayatri, the Rishis understood the fact that the most intelligent person, very soon, now please listen to this carefully, the most intelligent person very soon realizes the limitations of the intellect. Intellect is a product of the brain. Limitations of the intellect. So, what happens if one understands the limit? One tries to see, is there something beyond the ordinary thought process? Is there something beyond the brain, something beyond the mind? One at least begins to explore this topic. But for that, we need a good intelligence. It's not that for anything in this world, as the human organism has developed and evolved, the brain has become a very good instrument. It's one of the best computers that we have. Of course, we believe that the operator is the consciousness. It doesn't matter. Let's not get into that right now. But it's necessary. Now, for this, one needs to keep the body good. You cannot say, I want to think sharply, I want to be intelligent. When you say intelligent, it doesn't mean intellectual. Please make a distinction between the two. Because intellectual simply means that I have lots of information. Intelligence is the capacity to quickly figure out what a thing is. Intellect is crowding our brains with all the knowledge that we derive from the outside world. Do you see a subtle difference between the two? For instance, you might go to a very remote village somewhere, a farmer who has no intellectual, he has not studied nuclear physics. I'm nothing against nuclear physics. He has not done any studies on the internet or quantum physics for that matter, but sometimes found to be more intelligent than the most advanced computer scientist or a quantum physicist. He's intelligent. He may not be intellectually endowed with all the knowledge that he has gathered. It applies also to us. If we have studied all the scriptures, that doesn't mean we are intelligent. Maybe intellectually we have gathered information, but that doesn't mean anything, really. This is what the Upanishads are actually trying to do, to say. Okay, so this might appear a little bit not going in a straight line. Yeah, but in this there is no straight line. That's the problem, sir. It's more like fuzzy logic. It goes this way, this way, this way. Okay, so let me, and please understand this, that a person who has really explored and figured out the essence of consciousness need not be stereotyped. That means there are no special robes a person wears. There is no special haircut or hairstyle, anything of that kind. And he may not even know Sanskrit. Well, I happen to know, which in some ways good, some ways a handicap. Anyway, yeah. But I really appreciate it and I respect the language because ancient works like the Upanishad and so on came in that language. And that's why sometimes I'm proud that it originated in the country where I come from. But then you should remember that it is a universal message. It's nothing to do with any locality. Okay, now I'm going to go into, because that is the only point of reference that I have, fortunately or unfortunately. I'm going to go into one statement, which again comes from my dear Upanishads. And I think we also use the word Upanishad, right? Yeah, so we can, without being excommunicated, talk about Upanishad. So, I was long ago excommunicated from somewhere, it doesn't matter. So, there is a beautiful small Upanishad called the Ishavasya Upanishad. We won't go into we won't start from the beginning, but somewhere in this Upanishad, after a few slokas, I can't pinpoint the number, there is a statement which is interesting, since we are exploring consciousness. It says, please, you don't have to accept it on authority. Just look at the statement before rejecting it. Okay? It says, those who worship ignorance, when you say worship, it means regard, consider, who think, those who worship ignorance go into darkness. Now we would say that is nice. So that's true. We should not be ignorant. Those who worship ignorance must be going to darkness. Because why? Because we are not ignorant. We are very intelligent. Yeah, we have a lot of knowledge. But the next statement is a bomb. Really an explosive bomb. What does it say? And he who worships knowledge enters into greater darkness. Andham tama pravishantiyo vidhyayam upasate. Those who worship knowledge enter into greater darkness. What are they trying to do? Are they trying to juggle words? Are they trying to fool us? What are they trying to do in the Upanishad? And remember, the conservative estimate, 2,000 years old, still people are discussing, maybe longer. This is where we need to look, because we are into the exploring consciousness, right? In brain, body. Now, before we touch that, there is another Upanishad, the Mundaka Upanishad, which says something very straightforward and maybe something which we had never thought about. It says, those who are Pandits, please, anybody has a surname Pandit, it doesn't mean that. Pandit means one who has all the knowledge collected, centuries of studies and so on. There is one who is a Pandit and who believes he knows the truth. When he leads others and guides them, it's like the blind leading the blind. Both fall into a pit. So if you thought Shakespeare invented this phrase, it's there in the Mundaka Upanishad, 2000 years ago. Believe me. The blind, andheineva niyamana yatandaha, the blind leading the blind. So why such statement? Maybe to confuse us. Maybe to free us from the ego that we know? We don't know. Anyway, we are going to look into the other one, which I mentioned. What? He who worships ignorance enters into darkness. He who worships knowledge enters into greater darkness. Okay. Now we have to look at the process of what is knowledge. What exactly is knowledge? What do we mean by knowledge? Of anything. Science, physical objects, this world, that world, all that we talk about. The other day somebody requested me to come in my astral body and hover around her bed. Too much astral knowledge. So anyway, not that I took it seriously, you know. And anyway, my astral body is not going anywhere. Right now it is sitting here with the physical body. So, okay, now what is the process of knowledge? What do I mean when I say I have not? Knowledge, the whole picture, knowledge, anything. Could be science, scriptures, whatever you want to say. What is, suppose I don't know about this, Suppose I am seeing this for the first time. I've seen this several times, but suppose I'm seeing this for the first time. What do I mean by saying I have a knowledge of this copper lid? What does that mean?
Thinking and thought are knowledge.
Huh?
Thinking and thought are knowledge. Yes?
What?
When we think, we create knowledge.
Yes. Without thinking, you cannot. You know. So what do I mean when I say, yes, you're right. This, I know this. It's a copper lid of the pot. What does it mean? What it means is, sometime before I knew about it, I saw it for the first time. Right? I didn't know about it. I might have read about it, but I didn't know anything about it. I saw it for the first time. When I saw it for the first time, I then understood. I needed intelligence to understand, thought, intelligence, that this is a copper thing. If I say, what is this made of? Somebody said it is copper. So I said it's a copper thing which is round and which is a lid. I've learned that, right? So now I know what is a copper lid. Now when I say I have a knowledge of this copper lid, it means that I have heard, understood and known that this is what it means, and I have stored it in my memory. Right? And if I have stored it in my memory, when I say I know about it, I have developed the capacity to open that part of my memory which says this is a lid at an instant, fast. So I say I have knowledge of this lid. So the knowledge of this lid is actually gathered from a memory of the lid, which I learned at one time fresh, but then now has become a memory. So if I'm an expert, if my memory is not failing, if I don't suffer from dementia, then I can quickly say, this is a copper lid. I may not have to say it, but I know it. Why? Because I stored it. I didn't store it. It is an automatic process in my brain, and I so recalled it at any given moment, so I know it is so. Right? This is the case with all knowledge, right? Any knowledge. What we don't know, then we understand, then we store it in the memory, and then we get the capacity to look at it at any time, that cubicle, wherever the memory is. Yes, this is what it is. But it is so instantaneous. We don't even know that we are pulling it out of the memory. This is all knowledge, scriptural, all knowledge. Now the question that the Rishi has is, if, hypothetically, if we think of truth, which is pure consciousness, as ever existing, present, now, not existing in my memory, not existing long ago, not existing tomorrow, like our bodies existing today and gone tomorrow. No. If consciousness is something which is always present, not in the past, we don't know anything about the past except in our memories. Right? If it is so, then this knowledge is of no use to understand that. Because it is not something that is memorized and kept and revived, retrieved to look at, but it is something which is now and always exists. We don't know about afterwards or before, but now, yes. This is why the same Upanishad in the beginning says, Isha Vashyamidam Sarvam. That truth pervades everything here. So, now, when we say knowledge, it is basically brain knowledge. Knowledge derived through thought, through brain, which is, of course, thought is originating from there. That's what we think, at least. And therefore, it's not an understanding of consciousness in its pure essence. Now the question is there such a consciousness, which is apart from the thought process, apart from the brain? Is there something? Is there consciousness? Is consciousness a product of the brain? Or is consciousness, when necessary, is using the brain as an instrument? But that consciousness has to be there is no question. Otherwise we will not be conscious of anything. The other day I was talking to a neurosurgeon who grew up, of course, with the knowledge which we are all are taught in the textbooks, that consciousness is a product of the brain, which is especially this. He says there was a little kid whom he had been observing for years, who was born in a situation where he did not have any of these. Only the brain stem existed. Although he could not respond or do things which normally we do, he was very conscious. He said that gave him a jolt because he thought consciousness was associated with the cerebrum and the cerebral, especially the frontal lobes and so on and so forth. Here was a little child born with just the brain stem due to some injury in the womb, who was pretty conscious and happy, felt pain, felt pleasure. So he said maybe it's in the brain stem, but we don't know. I'm just quoting, saying this to let us look a little differently at consciousness. And since we are on this very thin ice, We don't have to define anything now. We are just skating on it carefully. Okay. Now, let's go to this understanding of the body and how it's related to the mind. As of now, we are saying that the mind that we know of is part of the body because it's part of the brain. Question is there a consciousness apart from this? If the brain is not there or ceases to think, if thought process comes to a sudden halt or a gradual halt, is there still consciousness? That's what we are looking at. And is that consciousness something that we declare, or is it always there? Is it a consciousness based on our sensory experiences, or is it beyond? These are the questions that we are going to look at as we go along. We will look at it in different angles, of course. Now, let's come to the world that you see. Just now we were talking about ourselves. Look at the world that we see. A tree. There is no location of a brain in that tree. Is there? Where is the brain? There is no. We have an instrument, the brain. It doesn't have a brain. Of course, every cell of the tree has an intelligence. It has a nucleus. It has all the activity. It does what is called photosynthesis. It absorbs the sun, converts it into energy, all this, but it has no structure called the brain, except that all that it needs is in each cell that it has. You can't say the tree is living. It doesn't move, it can't move its location. Maybe it has realized the fact that to be free is to be free from the desire to be free. Staying in one place, giving shade to all weary travelers, giving fruit to eat, giving us wind and breeze, and without photosynthesis, we won't get anything to eat ourselves. So, there is no instrument or there is no organ called the brain, but it has intelligence. And if it has intelligence, it has to have consciousness. It is conscious. Believe me, trees can listen. I don't know whether they listen because there is no ear, but they feel music, for instance. And when disaster strikes, the tree also suffers. And just see how it is. You plant a tree somewhere where there is no water. The roots of the tree automatically go onto the earth and try to find a source of water somewhere. It has no structure called the brain, but it has consciousness and intelligence built in. If there is no sun, the branch of the tree grows this way, goes towards the sun. Where is the structure there called the brain? Inside, built in. It is conscious. So tree is also conscious. Mountains are conscious. We have this terrible thing, that we are the only intelligent and conscious beings on this earth. Everything has consciousness. You know why we feel that? Out of the arrogance that our brain, which is a well-developed instrument, is able to express more. That's it. That's where this arrogance comes from, that we are superior. Yes, in one way we are different because we are aware of ourselves. Self-awareness is there. That is it, I agree. But I cannot say that the tree doesn't have self-awareness. I haven't been a tree, so I don't know.
Guruji, is it correct then to say that...
Can we continue? and have the questions later.
Sorry, I thought we can ask, no problem. You said it before, no?
Yeah, because then, you know, yeah, yeah. So, but do ask me afterwards. But if any such questions are noted down somewhere so we can discuss. So,
Consciousness.
huh?
Consciousness of the tree, the arrogance of the human.
That is number one. So, okay. So we are saying, we are trying to tell you, we meaning some people whose brains are not properly functioning, that consciousness is something which is intrinsic in nature. And everything on this universe that we see as separated and individual are actually bubbles on this consciousness. And these bubbles, when they come, they reflect the whole world, but disappear fast. But the consciousness remains, and it is therefore not a product of the brain. This is what we're trying to say. When I'm saying consciousness, not the consciousness which is adapted to do things, to understand. No, not that. That there is a groundwork of consciousness which is universal. And all we beings, including tree, grass, human beings, although we would say that we have the capacity to understand it, maybe others don't, that we are all bubbles on the surface of consciousness. Now, some people like to hear, scientific terms. So if I may suggest something interesting, please don't believe the rest because I'm dropping some science words, okay? I may be saying some rubbish afterwards. But then when I say science, then everybody believes it. So here, the quantum physicists are saying, it is their understanding, that there is something called an electron field that is all-pervading, omnipresent, electronic, not electric, electronic field, which is omnipresent. And nobody knows for what reason, once in a while, somewhere, it's a small field created. This field is kshetra, the complete field. Somewhere there is an agitation. At time, nobody knows why or what, you cannot explain, but there is a tiny agitation. That agitation in the field is the beginning of what you call an electron, which has a negative charge, of course, minus charge. I always, when I hear scientists talking, I have some good friends talking about it, I always go back to the ancient tantras and see that they say there is an old pervasive, they don't say electronic field, a silent, quiet, tranquil field called Shivam. And every now and then, here and there is a small movement in the field. They call it spanda. She knows all this. Professional tantric. Joking. So, there is this small movement happening, and that movement, according to Tantra, the spanda, is Devi, which is feminine. Well, it's our experience anyway in daily life. And we are fully tranquil and nice, and there is a feminine movement somewhere, right? So that's where it starts. And then progresses. I mean, nothing wrong. The whole creation comes from there. And then it subsides back, and there is complete quietness called Shivam. In the same way, we are trying to look at it from the picture of consciousness. Is there a way by which our thought process, or not way, is there a possibility where our thought process, which is constantly moving all the time, You know how it is. From the time we started thinking as a child till today it moves. There are only two things that continue to move till the last minute, and when they stop, everything is over. One is consciousness, the other is the breath. What happens when you die? First, last thing, breath is gone. And these two somehow are interlinked. We will not get into it right now. Now, we are saying, suppose, hypothetically, you think that there is an all-pervading consciousness, which works through our brain to we live in this world and all that. Suppose we learn how to shut it off. Or, again, hypothetically, one day it shuts off. Are we dead? Or are we still alive? I'm saying we are still alive, but we're not operating in the normal sense of the term. We are just receding and remaining in our natural state. When this happens to the mind, which in this case we can call the brain because we don't know of any other mind, then perhaps one has gone to the root of that consciousness. But there is a danger. Once you touch it, then you don't remain anymore. You may function, but the little identity is broken. It may temporarily come like those little bubbles coming on the surface of the electronic field, but it's not there permanently. So, now if that is so, if it is so, hypothetically, then we are all capable of understanding this. I won't say we are capable of doing it because it's not a question of doing anything. Or rather, it's a question of not doing anything. Well, if and when this happens, it need not necessarily happen when you are doing deep meditation with your eyes closed. In this case, when you have gone far enough, there is no need to close the eyes. If you close your eyes and experience something, which of course is necessary in the beginning, then your awareness is dependent upon closing the eyes. It's not independent. When it is discovered, then there is no opening or closing. What is here is also here and everywhere, like consciousness in a tree or the grass or the human being. For instance, there is no picture of, let's say, Ramana Maharshi. Well, there is one picture, that is when he died, in which his eyes are closed. And I personally think that is one of the rare persons who touch the source of consciousness. His eyes are always open. Why? Because there is no going in, going out. There's a general session, so I'm going like that. Now, there was a great ancient king in India whose name was Janaka. He was the king of Videha. Any people who know about the Ramayana knows that Sita was his daughter, Videha. He was not only a great king, but he was also a great rishi. So he was called a Raja Rishi for two reasons. One is he was a king and still a great rishi. Rishi meaning, I would define a rishi as a spiritual sage, scientist, spiritual scientist, who discovers certain things beyond the ordinary realm of thought. Now this king, he had a teacher, a guru, whose name was the great sage Yajnavalkya. You will meet him in the great Upanishads like Brihadaranyaka and so on. He's a famous sage, Yajnavalkya. So under his instructions, Janaka learned how to practice dhyana, dharana, and enter into samadhi and experience the bliss of samadhi. And he thought he was free. So one day, there comes to the palace another rishi. whose name is Ashtavakra. Ashtavakra simply means bent in 8 places, which means physically he was what do you call that when people are
handicapped.
Disabled.
Hmm.
Physically challenged.
Yeah, physically challenged. And he came, and of course, Janaka, knowing who he was already a well-known man, welcomed him and gave him food, water to drink. And then he said, okay, that's all fine, but I have a question, Janaka. I said, what? Are you free? Moksha. Have you attained moksha? Moksha is freedom. He said, yes, I think. Okay, how do you say that? But because I enter into the trance state called samadhi. And in samadhi, I see the all-pervading ka. So now you have come out of it. Yes. Now I'm talking to you, I'm separate. He said, how can you say you're free when you're dependent upon samadhi to be free? If you're free, you have to be free always, even now. You're dependent on that state. You're going there and coming. When you're there, you say, I'm free. When I'm not there, so there is going and coming, there and not there, so it cannot be. When it is experienced, it is always there. There is no going in, there is no coming out. So, that teaching is, at some point, if you get hold of it, read it. It's called the Ashtavakra Gita, or the Ashtavakra Samhita. It's an ancient text. Of course, there are people who have read that and completely stopped all spiritual practice. Please, watch out carefully. And are you doing astral projection? No. Samadhi? No. Sorry. So, this is what we are going to look into in the coming today, tomorrow. We're going to examine what is this thing that consciousness, is there a can link with the body and the mind? If there is, how do we go about it? And is there a way at all? Or does it happen when all ways have stopped? Okay. Now, what time do we have?
About 45 minutes.
We have 45 minutes more?
Yes.
Okay. So, are you saying that because you are interested in the subject or really that? Okay. Now the same Upanishad which we are looking into, which said about knowledge, the Ishavasya Upanishad, it starts like this. Ishavasyam idam sarvam, which means that supreme consciousness or reality pervades everything here and now. Pervades, which means omnipresent. Okay. Now, this is a statement of the Upanishad. Suppose we hypothetically accept it. Let's say, perhaps there is a consciousness which is all pervading, which is everywhere. Okay, fine. We say, okay. Like the Pythagoras theorem, yes, that's a hypothesis. Let's see if we can disprove or prove it. In that case, if I am searching for that truth, that absolute all-pervading truth, suppose I am looking for it very seriously, I don't want to leave any stone unturned to find this. Suppose. Then, how do I go about it? Because, okay, if something is there and I am here, I need to go and find it, right? It's there and I'm here and I need to find it. Now what happens When it is here, where do I go? Misha Vashyamidam Sarvam, it is here and now, all pervading. So, when I look for it, how do I look for it? Because if it is something I can understand, linear, it is there, and I can go there and find it, the whole process. Suppose it is here, suppose. Where do I go to find it? It's here. So, we are just thinking about it carefully. Some of the great rishis said, to find it, you should stop all going, all moving, all reaching out. When you've stopped all reaching out, when the thought is no longer going that side or this side or anywhere, or the mind is not reaching out to some imaginary thing further away. We don't know, right? Imaginary. When it is settled down, and very often it happens only after a great deal of trial and error, and the mind gets tired and says, now that tiredness, it is not, it's a holy, it's a spiritual tiredness. You've seen, and you say that this is not happening, and then I say, okay, let me stop this attempt. When I say, it doesn't mean let me stop this attempt and go have a beer. No, this is not what I'm saying. Because when you have a beer, then your thought process is not anymore straight. Well, you may enjoy it, that's a different story. So, when this happens, the mind gradually, by and by, realize, you should at some point, if you get a copy of the Ashtavakra Gita, read, which of course elaborate. Point, all movement and running around in circles and going crazy stops, and the mind settles down. When the mind thus settles down, when there is no movement anywhere, there is no reaching out, there is no reaching in that calmness, perhaps one comes face to face with consciousness. The consciousness which you may call Brahman or Atman, whatever you want to call it. Some people call it God, which is okay. Nothing wrong. It's not anathema to use the word God. So, this is what we are looking at. Now the question is this all in the air, in theories? Or is there some way of looking into this, practical way of looking into this? I also am convinced that if it was so, and if the consciousness is all pervasive, which is true from my understanding, everybody would be touching it, but it doesn't look like it. Or maybe they are touching it and have decided that we are not touching it because somebody says this is not the way. So as we look closer into this, there are a couple of things to understand. Even to think along these lines, the mind needs to be made quiet and sharp and undistracted. A distracted mind cannot go into this colossal task of looking at these factors. So there has to be that. Plus, in the process of going within, we often forget to look without. That also has to be sharpened. On one hand, we need to learn perhaps to look carefully within ourselves, how the thought process is working, why is it getting limited, what's preventing us from breaking the cycle, the structure, and understanding on one hand. And on the other hand, how we, being so obsessed with ourselves, when I say self, not the supreme self, no, ourselves, practically, so obsessed with ourselves, either in our career or in our spiritual, whatever, forget to open our eyes and our ears and our nose and look at the world, which is the all-pervading supreme consciousness. How many times have we opened the window? We might have, I'm just saying, and looked at this little sapling outside the garden growing. And what a wonderful thing when you see that when it is flowered, you're actually face to face with consciousness, but we don't look at it. Why? Because we want a lotus, not a rose. Or we want a rose and not a lotus. You see, this world, there are all kinds of flowers. And therefore, at least I am not trying to make a lotus into a rose or a rose into a lotus. They're all beautiful in their own place. But we have shut ourselves with ideas and concepts and not being able to see. One day I was going for a walk with a very nice gentleman, of course, nice guy. I was walking to the forest and I was looking at such a beautiful forest. Just squirrels are running around, birds chirping somewhere, mushrooms. I've never seen such mushrooms before. It's a new place, in Europe, of course, in Germany. And this guy is a very nice man. And I was wondering at this expanse. And suddenly, he says to me, I'm just wondering how much timber we can get from this. He didn't see the tree. He didn't see the birds. He didn't see the all-pervading consciousness. He didn't see nothing. He was only thinking how much timber can be taken from there. I mean, it's okay, it's practical, I understand. So, because we are so obsessed with ourselves and with our own profits and losses, and whatever we see, we only look at this, is it tinged with gold somewhere? That we have forgotten to look at the reality which is the supreme, which is around us. We cannot see it. In the US, in Texas, we have a place called Graham, Sacred Grove. Oh, she knows, you keep coming. So one guy came, I don't know if you were there at that time, and he said, no, I don't have any question. I just want to know, is there a mantra by which I can get rich in 2 days? I said, there are plenty on YouTube, please check. So, since we are so caught up in that motivation, we are not open to see this. Plus, this is the outside. We'll come to the inside. Comparison. Comparison kills your understanding of the universe. One day, I go up to my terrace, let's say, just like that, humming for nothing, no reason. Let me get some fresh air. It happens to be a full moon. I don't even know it's a full moon. And then I look up, and there's this beautiful full moon out there, no clouds, nothing. For a second, I'm stunned. I mean, it's like, a painting of the moon is different from a moon. A picture of the moon is different from the moon. Otherwise, one will get married to a woman who is picture. It is different from the reality. So I look at the moon and for a second, I am not there, you see, you are lost. There is only the moon, which means you have broken your barrier. There is nothing. Then, within a second, because our brains are trained to think that way, I say to myself, well, in 1960 I saw a moon on the top of the Himalayas, which was, this is not in the Himalayas, in the marketplace, let's say, which was like this, like this, like this, and that reality of that moon is gone. What I'm seeing now. So it is our capacity to create images and keep them in our minds and project them, and also always looking for, is there some profit? Or I know what would be a reaction of somebody else. I could also be doing it sometimes. Rush down immediately and get hold of my best camera. The moon is gone. Well, good, keep your moon pictures, I'm okay with that. You see this? So, therefore, what I'm trying to say is to see the truth outside, which is everywhere. One needs to go inside and free ourselves to see that. The whole process of what we call sadhana, spiritual practice, is to see first that how we ourselves condition ourselves, to see how we prejudice ourselves, how we are always looking for the self, for profit, and see it clearly and try to break that structure. Not easy. With this, if you even think about it, a small quest starts for the true consciousness, for the true reality. Till then, we may meditate for hours together and still come out the same person. There is no difference. So, basically, it's not adding something to oneself, but removing something so that it becomes naked and clear. It's a breaking of the structure rather than adding a new structure. You can keep on adding structures. It goes on forever till we die. After that, there is no structure, of course. You breathe and you're done, finished. Till then, you create new structures. Well, the new structure may seem very beautiful at one point, for some time. Then it breaks off. Then I create another structure. It breaks off. In my mind, I'm not talking about physical. And it goes on endlessly. If only we can discard this structure-making tendency in our minds, then perhaps one is able to clear oneself. And when one has cleared oneself here, one has cleared oneself there. This is what we are trying to look at. In this process, I might bring in some texts which deal with it, may or may not, but this is what we are looking at. Let me give you an example. It's a very poor example. All examples are not perfect. No example is perfect, imperfect, but something to go by. You might have seen a sculpture working on a block of granite to create an image, right? What does the sculpture do? He sits on the stone. It's not yet been consecrated, so he can put his foot there. Chip. He chips and he chips and he chips. What is he chipping at? He is removing all that is unnecessary. He is removing all that is, chipping it off. And when he has done that, he has the image which he needs. He was not putting anything into the granite except his mind. He was chipping away what was not required till the image became manifest. In the same way, this process is a chipping away, not a putting in. So, we need to look at it from all angles, outside, inside. I don't know what this little girl is thinking of. I'm amazed. How old are you? 12. Really? Something? I'm making sense or no? So, what do we do? Yes, you had some question.
It was not a, it was kind of a question. You were referring to intelligence and the consciousness. But
Yes.
for me, it's all the same. You can call it any time.
Yes.
But from my life experience, I observed that intelligence operates with no thought. It doesn't mean
With
it can operate with no thought.
no thoughts?
Yeah.
Then you have reached.
Yeah.
There is no need to attend the seminar. No, really, serious.
I have noticed from my own experience.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
I can operate with no thought.
That's great.
So I can bring thought into being.
That's wonderful. Then what I'm saying is then the whole purpose of the seminar is over.
Now, maybe there might be other purposes which are not.
Okay. Okay. I'm glad actually that there is one person who can operate without the thought process. It's fantastic.
I go in the forest and I meet a snake. Do I need to think what kind of snake it is? Do I have a venom with me? Do I have this with me? No, I don't think about anything. I just let go. Intelligence operates
Yeah.
in that moment
Yeah.
with no thought coming.
Yeah, that's true. Except that if it's a cobra, we may not be able to withdraw in time. Yeah, I understand. I'm joking.
Intelligence operates in a tree
Yeah,
and it operates the same in us, isn't it?
right.
Therefore, we can operate with no thought.
Good. Anybody else?
Yes. Is there something like collective consciousness?
Who is talking? I thought, from there, yeah.
Yeah. Is there something like collective consciousness? So that is the thought. Like, can a lot of human beings together, or I don't know, maybe the universe or nature, have something like collective consciousness? So that's something that.
See, the word we use as collective consciousness simply means, as of now, that everybody is conscious and therefore there is one collective consciousness. This is what we normally mean by collective consciousness. I can neither deny it nor say yes, because yes, there is collective consciousness, but we are talking about the essence of consciousness where the word collective is a little out of place. When you say collective means you're collecting some things, right? Right? No. I'm just saying the movement of collective means to collect, to get together. There's a problem also with our English language which we have. Here it's not collective, but I would say an all-pervading consciousness rather. Because if it is infinite, if what we are discussing is infinite, it certainly cannot be a collection of finites. If it's a collection of finites, then it is not infinite anymore. You know what I'm trying to get. So, you're right in a way, but I would rather not use the word collective consciousness.
One more associated question is, very often we have heard this thing about touching universal consciousness. Like if you have touched that. So
I think it's a very wrong expression. You cannot touch it.
Yeah, so I
Either it is there or it is not there. I think, personally, it's also thought, okay? I'm saying I think, maybe limited. That it's what we are discussing, looking at, is like the sun. It's like the sun. Now, the sun has no prejudice against anybody. It shines throughout the world, sometimes less, sometimes more, right? No one can influence it. And this sun, I think one can approach as close as possible to it. If you go too close, then it burns you up. You don't exist anymore. There is only the sun. So the toucher doesn't exist anymore. There's only the sun. But I think in a way what they're trying to say when you say touch the truth is to have some kind of idea about what it is. That's all we can do, right? In our minds, we feel, yeah, but I think that expression is not so accurate because if as if it is the same, collective or all pervading, as you say, there is no another individual to touch it. Does not exist. But as a way of saying, people say, yes, I have touched, or I'm trying to touch, and so on.
I mean, it also similar to that salt doll and a lot
Yes.
of salt.
Yes. The old example of a salt doll that went to measure the depths of the ocean. And then it was not there anymore. There was only the ocean. So, yeah.
Pranam Sabha. Can you, this whole conundrum that you've been speaking about, right?
It's not a conundrum, it's fact. Okay, tell me.
The conundrum is there are 2 points which feel polar in my mind at least. One is you do less to do more, right? So chip away, remove, these are the words that you use. On the other hand, this knowledge itself comes from this understanding, unless it just dawns on you and clearly not there, comes from the study of the wise ones, whatever they have written, right? But then you also said knowledge itself leads you to darkness, right?
I didn't say.
Isha, that's it. I'm struggling with the need to get to that point of realization of the universe, but almost a dark jungle. I don't know what's the way. How do you do this without thrashing around? How do you be still that and not feel desperate that you don't know enough? How do you get there?
By not knowing anything at all.
And that does look like the best strategy, but how do you execute it on it?
Problem is, what we are trying to discuss, that it is not a strategy. You know, this is another way of thinking that we have developed in this world. To achieve anything, you need a strategy and you need to go towards it. We are saying when everything settles down, it's a good strategy. Okay, try your best, and if it doesn't work, what do? Throw it. When I say chipping away, it means chipping away all the ideas and theories we have created out of it, also through reading or getting other people's, even me. Is it possible at some point to chip them off? And if you say, if somebody says, I would like to know what exactly is there so I can move towards it, there is a problem. If I have already concluded in my mind what I am looking for, I will find it, of course, but that may not be what it is. It is where what I thought it is. Suppose I say, this is the truth. I have an idea and I'm moving towards it. You may find it, but it will be my idea of it, right? It may not be the reality. So, all I'm saying is look at it carefully.
There's no path to it. We are already.
If you are, but everybody is saying that, they're saying they are not, so what can I do? So we have one wise man, but there are many others. So we cannot do it.
Sir, coming back again to the example of your friend.
Which friend?
Whom you said who was looking at the prophets.
Tree.
Yeah, from the tree. So it means one should not look at money at all. To live in this world, we need money. Materialistic things are very important. At the same time, I understand that we also look for the truth. One should also seek the truth. How to find the right balance between that?
Look, I did not say that we need not have money or we need not. You are going away from what we are trying to discuss. I'm saying it's not the money that is important about the timber I'm talking about. That to look at anything and think only profitably. You know what I mean? You cannot look at everything in the world and listen, have you seen those beautiful snails walking in the grass sometimes? Now, it's nice, right? Would you immediately think of frying it and eating it? This is what I'm trying to say. It's not about money. We all know that money is required in this world because society has created that structure where we cannot live without money. I understand. But for everything that you see, are we only thinking of our physical profits or are we thinking of other things? That's all I was saying. Okay, you would say, so I'm not interested in it, so I've given up all my money. How long can you sit like that? How many days will you go on like that? It's not possible. While you live we are not saying run away from it. Now this is the problem. People run away and then they are in real trouble. They don't know whether to go back or stay there, and there is turmoil. Instead of that, I'm saying, live your life. If you feel, now, there will be a stage when you might think that even this is not necessary, then drop it. If you artificially try to do it, saying that only by not getting interested in this, it is not going to work. So please make money and give me also some. Being practical. No, I don't want any, please. Yes, sir.
Oh, hello. I wanted to ask you, so is the truth state, is it when you're not emotionally or mentally disturbed at all and unable to get disturbed?
It's not unable to get disturbed, may not be the right expression, but the other things are okay. Unable to get disturbed seems that you want to be disturbed, but you're unable to do it. It's not like that. I know what you're trying to say. The expression was a little bit unable to get disturbed. I would like to be disturbed, but I'm not able to. Not like that. It's that when the mind, when we can only think of mind as thought, right, has become quiet, Q-U-I-E-T, quiet and silent, seeing that there is no escape and that there is nothing coming out of my projections. Can I sit quietly without developing anything in my mind, including the idea that I have to go here or there or move? Then perhaps in that silence, perhaps, this can happen. That's what I'm doing. In that silence. And believe me, This can happen sometimes when we are not even meditating consciously. This can happen, I don't know, sometimes when you're going for a walk or you're just sitting quietly, or even when you see your child playing. It can also happen at some highly emotional laden moment. That's possible. That your breath is taken away by it. For a split second it could happen. But then we then try to understand it and modify it and build upon it, and then it is lost. Yes, now we should close. It's 12:45. Oh, he's a good friend. Oh, please. Last, okay.
Well, this is a tough one. Namaskar. So when we actually start our first being in, let me say, in physical form, and we get this to the state of ahankara of ourselves,
Yeah.
and we start depending on our five senses, and the thinking process starts, and suddenly we discover, oh, hey, we got a consciousness, and now we're talking about a consciousness that we don't know, thinking that it might be. And funny, actually, when I was listening to the Mundakya,
Mundaka, yeah.
and you were just thinking about that Maheswarnath just made it up with a frog thing. Actually, I was thinking about that the transformation process brings us to the point where we can look like a frog outside of the water, which is actually the barrier, and we just can see the other side. And we also can climb out of it for some time, but then we have to drop back.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
So I got that right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
That's why I wanted you to say it, you know. I said finish, but I thought maybe you should say it. You heard, that was interesting. Thank you. Okay, now we come back again. And so it's not as if people don't know. I'm not trying to say something which people don't know, really. There are many who might have glimpses of what is going on. It is true. But I'm trying to separate the chaff so that it remains in its essence, that's all. All of us, I'm sure everybody has some hint of this. Somewhere. Might have happened at some point, but it's got buried deep down. This is also possible. So we'll come back and continue. If you don't mind, I might take up a small text or go in another direction, because this being so vast and infinite, there are two ways of saying it. There's someone, a good friend of mine, who said there is no path. No, I don't want to say that. Then everybody goes home and it's over. But I'm saying that since it is infinite, there must be infinite approaches, right? Because it is infinite, there have to be many different infinite approaches. So we will examine them a little bit, internal, external, as we carry on. Yeah, thank you.